Come mamma ti ha fatto, come mamma ti ha fatto. Vuoi sapere come facette, vuoi sapere come facette. Mi pestasti carne bella. Tutte quelle che mettete.
Tell you what, we have the vaccines are coming soon, the therapeutics, and frankly, the cure. All I know is I took something, whatever the hell it was, I felt good very quickly. I don't know what it was. Antibodies. Antibodies. I don't know. I took it, I said, I felt like Superman. And I said, let me at him.
If anything goes wrong, just use this reset button. One press, and he goes back to La La Land.
Okay, let's leave the good doctor to work.
I'm telling you, this is incredible. Just type in your search.
In Greek mythology, Cronus is the god of time. He once ruled the universe until it was stolen from him by Zeus. Christopher Lloyd is our Zeus resonator, and he battles Cronus' clock tower in the synchronistic epic Back to the Future. The Greeks' story said that Cronus was defeated by Zeus by way of his lightning bolt. Christopher Lloyd kills the clock tower with a lightning bolt, and since Cronus was the god of time, or the titan of time, it seems fitting that he would be represented by a gigantic, inanimate, but still antagonistic clock tower. Cronus was also a god who embodied limitation, darkness, death, and the color black. He was almost always depicted carrying a scythe, which is why his modern-day adaptation, the Grim Reaper, Death, also carries the scythe. The theme of escaping death is exemplified by the construction of a time machine, which is why Lloyd builds one, because Lloyd is Zeus, and Back to the Future is the story of how Zeus defeated the god of time, limitation, darkness, and death, Cronus. Cronus was the leader of the Titans, and his death marked the end of their reign over the universe, which humanity still celebrates to this day by lighting a gigantic torch, the Olympic torch, which honors the victory of the Olympian gods and their rise to power in the cosmos. This is why the leader of the Olympian gods, Zeus, lights a gigantic torch immediately after symbolically killing the leader of the Titans, Cronus, which signified the victory of the Olympian gods. Today, we also celebrate Zeus's victory by the running of the torch, which Christopher Zeus Lloyd also does, immediately after killing Cronus. Take a look at the strange nature in which Christopher Lloyd blazes down this trail of fire. He is clearly running as if symbolically gripping and hoisting something in his hand. His arm is not only awkwardly raised, but his hand is cupped and held in a position that defies all logic, unless you take into account that he is acting out the Olympic torch run, if only subconsciously, which makes perfect sense since he is running down a trail of fire. These two acts, the lighting of a gigantic torch at the Temple of Hera and the subsequent running of the torch, are still and were always performed in honor of Zeus's victory over Cronus. So is it only a coincidence that Christopher Zeus Lloyd performs these acts immediately after striking down a giant clock with a bolt of lightning, while simultaneously transcending humanity's most insurmountable limitations, those of being trapped in time? Is this a reenactment of the Olympic ceremonies and the Olympian mythology of the rise of the Olympian gods? After a closer look, you will see that it clearly is.
I know you're listening. There is still time to stop and turn back. The street vultures are territorial and vicious. You wouldn't want to be caught on their turf, especially by their leader, Spike. Spike. I'm reading that he's known to be exceptionally savage. Apparently none of his enemies got out of Highland Park alive.
I will be the first.
I'm gonna get fired. Finding a missing police officer there will be like looking for a needle in a haystack.
3,500-year-old Egyptian obelisk stands at 69 feet tall in New York City. The 220-ton obelisk was carved from a single piece of stone from Aswan in Upper Egypt. Upon completion, ancient Egyptian engineers transported it to Heliopolis. Obelisks symbolize the living deity's absolute power, energy, immortality, duality, and balance. The Central Park's obelisk is one of two obelisks Pharaoh Thutmose III placed at the gate of the Temple of the Sun in ancient Heliopolis, east of the modern-day city of Cairo. Heliopolis is considered one of the most ancient Egyptian cities and the worship hub of the sun god Ra. The second obelisk, also called Cleopatra's Needle, stands on the Thames Embankment in London, England. In 12 BC, the Egyptian queen Cleopatra brought the two obelisks from the ancient city of Heliopolis to Alexandria. Since then, the two obelisks have been known as Cleopatra's Needles. The Greek engineers added bronze crabs to support the damaged bases to erect the two giant obelisks. Bronze crabs to support the damaged bases to erect the two giant obelisks. In Greek mythology, crabs are linked with Apollo, the sun god. Cleopatra's Needle moved to its new home in the heart of New York City.
According to the Greek myth, Zeus is not alone during the battle. He had the help of his two brothers, Poseidon and Hades. Zeus is the personification of the planet Jupiter, Cronus the personification of Saturn, while Hades is the personification of the planet Pluto. If this is truly a reenactment of the Olympian rise to power, then we should find both Hades and Poseidon present at the scene. Luckily, Hades is so clearly represented by Marty McFly that it is almost laughable. We learn that Universal Studios head Sig Sheinberg advocated a replacement of the title Back to the Future with Spaceman from Pluto, referring to Marty McFly, who was even supposed to state the line, "I am a spaceman from Pluto," which would have overtly stated his Hades-Pluto synchromistic entrainment. In this scene, Marty McFly is identified as a godlike alien supremacy from, of course, Pluto.
Hey, Doc?
Then there's the introduction of Marty McFly, where for the first time ever he enters into frame to garner first impressions from an estranged audience, only to draw the audience's attention directly to the element plutonium, which is directly named after the planet Pluto. He is introducing himself not just as Marty McFly, but as an earthly personification of the planet Pluto, and thus the god Hades. Each of the three brothers had a special weapon which they used during the battle against the god of time Cronus. Zeus had his lightning bolt, Poseidon had his trident, Hades had his helm of darkness, which made him invisible. In the second film, Marty becomes the Invisible Man, wearing a black hat and an all-black disguise in an attempt to be unseen, which he achieves for a large portion of the film, whereby he walks about in broad daylight and plain sight but is never spotted. Invisibility is his power. Marty is also the only character in the entire trilogy to ever actually turn somewhat invisible. Thus we have the two brothers, Zeus and Hades, fighting against Cronus Clock Tower. The scene has come together quite nicely. If only we could find the last piece of the puzzle, the third brother, Poseidon, somewhere. This scene happens moments before the clock tower fight scene. Hades is doing his invisible thing, and There he is. The last piece to the Olympian god puzzle falls solidly into place, and our Olympian trio materializes, ready for a reenactment of the transition from the age of Saturn, Cronus, to the age of Zeus, Jupiter.
I took it, I said, I felt like Superman.
Robocop, your body temperature is very low. Are you okay?
I am in the freezer.
What is the freezer even doing there?
They used it to store Briggs' body.
Oh. So that means...
He was not the only victim.
More bodies? That's insane. I'm getting you back up, even if it gets me in trouble.
The only person who should expect trouble is Spike. Spike.
We can see so